Hi there, welcome to my top tips for colic prevention in horses. Okay, just a reminder that colic is the leading medical cause of death in a horse. It really is often a fatal condition. If your horse is currently experiencing any symptoms, please call the vet and watch my Colic Part 2 video. If you're unsure of what colic is, have a look at Colic Part 1. But what can we do as owners to reduce the risk of colic as much as we can with our horses? Firstly, if your horse has suffered any previous colic or has any stable vices like wind sucking and weaving, etc., we know these horses are at higher risk, so you will simply need to be a little bit more vigilant. We know that any inclusion of grain and starch as opposed to a forage-only diet will increase the risk. So it's not surprising to know that many of the preventative things that you can do to prevent colic is around your feeding regime. So here's a good checklist of preventative behaviours. Number 1, only feed concentrates if your horse really requires it. Sometimes you can increase the forage, sometimes you can add oil to the diet. Both of these are much easier ways of increasing weight than it is to add a concentrate. If you do need to add a concentrate, and sometimes we do, then please, a rough guide, no more than 2 kilograms of concentrate for about a 500 kilogram horse per feed. That really is a maximum that you want to aim for. Preferably we want to do less, and if you do need to feed your 2 kilograms, it'd be even better if you could do that over multiple feeds during the day. Another thing to check is water intake. Your horse must have availability to enough clean water to be able to help the digestive system flow. Now, quite often in particularly cooler weather, horses' thirst mechanism turns a little bit off. They're not sweating as much, they don't feel hot, and they tend to not feel like drinking. And this is why adding salt to a horse's diet can really help them. The sodium in salt triggers the horse's thirst response, so it's very important to add this into the horse's diet, especially if your horse is at risk, but if the sodium is low in the diet. For more information on that, have a look at my video called Horses and Salt. Please don't feed on plain dirt or sandy soil if possible. Feed in a tub, get a mat, maybe find some gravel, something to keep the horse feeding off of that and to stop them ingesting the sand and dirt. If you need to change your horse's diet, please do so slowly. Any fast changes can be really quite offensive to the gut biota in the horse's hind stomach. And when this happens, it can really shift acidity, it can change the gases, and it can be a big colic risk. Make sure you're worming your horse. With the new worming protocol, I've heard a lot of people talk about having not had to worm their horse for years because the worm count was 0. This is simply not true. Have a look at my video on worming if you're unsure, but you really should be worming your horses at least once to twice a year, and only that little if you are doing fecal egg counts. Any food or hay that you suspect could be contaminated and mouldy, do not let that near your horse's mouth. Mouldy hay and contaminated feed is one of the really high causes of colic. Make sure you get your horse's teeth done regularly, 6 to 12 monthly as guided by your horse dental professional. But if their teeth get sharp or uncomfortable or they can't chew properly, quite often they gulp in food, don't chew hay stalks down as small, and this can cause an impaction issue in your horse's gut. The gut biota in your horse's hindgut is really important, so make sure you look after that. Essentially by adding a probiotic when it may be necessary, like a change in feed, the pasture's changed because it's suddenly green, or the horse has been on antibiotics, anything like that. Treat these little friendly microbes in the gut as friends, not enemies. And lastly, but definitely not least, increase your horse's turnout time. We don't want horses standing still for long periods of time. It's not what they were meant to do. It's not what they were evolved to do. And their digestive system really needs them to be moving. So constant movement is important. As much turnout time as possible and as much movement and exercise as you can. Thanks for listening to my tips. I hope you liked the video. If you did, please click the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.